Here we go. Hi, hey, this is Dave Miller. I'm excited to be here this morning, and I just want to tell you about something that we're doing that we're really passionate about. Something that we do every Christmas time, and that is raise some money for a really worthy charity. And a couple of years ago, we had an experience with some of our friends in Europe, and we went to a small Greek island called Lesbos. And the reason we went to this island is every day there are hundreds of people that come to this island as refugees from countries where they're enduring horrible conditions of war and persecution and unspeakable things, and put themselves at great danger to get away from there. And where they end up is this little Greek island that has been hardly prepared to have these people come. And we've been able to meet some of these families who, these are people, a lot of them that were very successful in their countries before they had to leave, and they come there with no place to go. And a lot of times the conditions aren't very good, and you have a government that's trying to take care of them. But what we found was a couple of people, Nicos and Katerina, that had a restaurant on the island and opened their hearts and opened their restaurant to these people. And what they've created there is amazing. But I've got to tell you, there's huge needs. And we're very passionate about raising money to help them and to help our friends there and these people. I want to introduce you to someone. This is our really good friend, Frank Odens, and he's from the Netherlands, and he's been very instrumental in setting up a charity there that can help these people, and working on having volunteers so that we can help these people that are in such need. Frank was recently on the ground there at these refugee camps, and so I wanted to bring him on. I appreciate your time very much for coming on and helping us with this cause that I also know that you're passionate about. So thank you so much.
Pleasure, Dave.
So Frank, it's hard for anyone to imagine that hasn't actually been on the ground in these camps and sat with these people to understand what conditions are like and what is needed. Can you tell us a little bit about your recent experience and what you saw, what needs you saw, and how we can do some good there?
Yes, absolutely, I can. Well, the first thing to tell you is that the island of Lesbos that you talk about is a very small island, and the influx of refugees there has been so large that the entire infrastructure of the camps just cannot cope with it. So the initial camp of Moria was built for about 2,500 people. Currently there are 17,000, and we estimate that by the end of the year it will be 20,000. So there is just a very inhumane, tragic situation came about, because the sanitary is hardly existing. Hygiene is extremely bad. There's about 500 unaccompanied minors that run the risk of rape or being beaten up, or there's women that are there are now safe zones, but how safe is a zone when you are so packed together? And there's lack of food, there's lack of safety, basically. So they also started to go out of the camps and really take the olive grove as a place of refuge, so to speak. But that is now also it's just hell. There's no better way to describe it. It's of course, I've been there a week again, and it's the conditions are terrible.
Yeah. So with such overcrowding, you can only imagine. And now it's also getting cold, right?
Yeah, it's getting cold. So there's a lot of there was lack of coats. Luckily, we were able to distribute. An NGO did about, I think, 10,000 coats. They were handed out. There are shoes handed out. I can show you some slides if you want to let the
Yeah.
people know what the actual condition is. If you want that at this point.
Yeah. Let's. Yeah, we'd love to see the pictures, and then also while the pictures, I know while you're showing those, you can also tell us um, about Nikos and Katerina and their
Sure.
role there.
Yeah, I'd like to start with them because, of
Yeah.
course, you know, they're very instrumental in the entire operation of help. So this is their little restaurant. This used to be a place where everybody could eat, including the Greek native people. But then the government decided that they had to make a choice, either the refugees or the Greek people you're going to serve, but not both. So then they decided to have the refugees as their main source of customers, so to speak. And of course, they eat for free because they cannot afford anything. So Nikos and Katerina basically help those refugees. Let me show you a few pictures. So this is, David was explaining this already, but this is what's happening every day. So there's refugees arriving. Um, I believe yesterday or the day before, there were 300, 500, 250. These sorts of amounts adding up, like I say, from 17,000 to 20,000 by the end of the year. So you can imagine there's a huge influx still. The water is cold. Not everybody makes it. Some people, some babies or children, they overboard and they drown. So it's a very tragic surrounding. This is Nikos. He's basically the guy that runs the operations behind the scene. He's very involved with the unaccompanied minors, with the youth, and now also with the adults to distribute food. Katerina is basically always in the kitchen. So she's cooking those meals together with a few staff they currently have. Luckily, we had great donations for the kitchen, so they now can really quickly make meals, about 1,000 a day. And if you have a look at the refugee camp itself, this is actually footage that I took last week, right before the rain came. So it's still, this is a good.
Is this at Camp Moria?
Yes, this is Moria. Yes. So as you can see, it's very bad actually. So this is how people sort of survive. They try to keep dry. The only thing is keeping dry, because if you get wet and cold, your health goes down very quickly.
Yeah.
So as you can see, the hygiene is really, really bad. People dry their sleeping bags, their towels. They can't wash anything, or they can, but they're not provided with washing powder. 40 women, they get about 10 or 20 cc, which is about a quarter of this cup of Clorix, chlorified, to basically clean the bathrooms, and the bathrooms are absolutely horror. You don't want to go there. So we provide them, of course, with more of that stuff to be able to really, clean it out of the get the germs away and protect them a little bit. Yeah, so it's basically a ex-prison. And the only good part about it is that after, right behind these bars, they've put the kids. So this is the safe zone. And I've been in a safe zone. It really is a safe zone. You cannot enter there unless you're a child or you're permitted to go in. And before that wasn't the case. But of course, during the day, the children are free. They have no parents. They walk out and in, and, they're basically by themselves, which is, I think, dangerous with 17,000 people. By the way, the unaccompanied minors are between 12 and 19. Yeah, something like that. I think 19.
That's heartbreaking.
So what we did, we basically got there, and we had a shipment, a big truck collection of shoes, and it was not enough, unfortunately. This truck is just a side truck in which we did the shoes, and we basically start driving the truck. We wanted to get the stuff out as soon as we could, because people were walking on their flip-flops with 5 degrees centigrade, going below zero very soon. And here we hand those shoes out to these guys, and they are very, very happy because they finally have warm feet. incredible if you have a pair of shoes to hand out to someone and you look them in the eye and they have been walking on flip-flops for months, and the temperature is getting colder and colder, and they are so happy with that. And it's a small gesture, to give away a pair of shoes that you don't use anymore. How many have shoes that we don't use anymore? So this is what we do. We basically put the meals, actually about 700 meals a day are now going to the sick people. They have special dietary needs, so we adapt those meals to those groups. We bring them to the unaccompanied minors as well, who actually make their own food now, which is very nice. We basically, or Nicos and Katarina, they educate them how to make food in a hygienic way and also on scale. So they make this in about an hour. They make about 300 meals. They bring them back, and they're distributed among the unaccompanied minors. So this is basically the two target groups that we serve in Camp Moria: the unaccompanied minors and the sick people. And we do that 3 times a day. And then they also come back to the camp twice a day, where we feed special groups that are oppressed or that have needs to get out of the camp. So this is a picture of how it goes. This is the operation. I mean, it's done very, very quick. This is done in like 40 minutes. We pack these meals in the boxes in 40 minutes, put them in a box. They're still warm. We bring them to the camp. It's about 15-minute drive, and then we hand them out. This is the truck that arrived. We were so lucky with a lot of donations. I got KLM, a Dutch airline, to donate, a big amount of strollers for kids. We shipped them, and we already handed them out. It was gone within like 3 or 4 days. Great. This is how it's done. You're in the camp. You guys have been here. You recognize many of the pictures, I think. Yeah. This is where we basically hand out to the accompanied minors. The lady here is one of the group leaders. She has a phone in her hand with all the room numbers. We call them room numbers. And sometimes we even knock on their door and we say room service, just to enlighten them a little bit, and they laugh and they joke, they understand it. And but of course it's a very tragic, it's all you can do. I have no pretensions that we significantly change, but our presence really changes their faces, and they're happy for a small moment, and their stomachs are not empty anymore. So that's what we do. This is what I wanted to show you guys. I mean, this is the current situation.
Yeah. So when someone arrives at one of these camps, how long will they generally be at this camp?
Sorry, Dave, I cannot hear.
Oh, how long will they be at this camp? Once they arrive, how long will they be at the camp?
Well, that's difficult to answer, but in general, there's about 4 years before they get a permit to travel, and then they get a permit only to travel within Greece. So they leave the island, go to Athens, and they are allowed to travel the mainland of Greece. Yeah. They cannot travel hardly to the EU or other parts of Europe.
That's a really long time before they may find a permanent home somewhere in Europe. It's years and years and years.
Correct.
So tell me what we're both with doTERRA, and I know that you've solicited a lot of help from doTERRA in these camps. What's doTERRA's role in helping these people?
Well, doTERRA significantly contributed to the kitchen. So the equipment that you see in the kitchen, I mean, it's quite a high ticket to get a good oven, to get a pan that makes like 300 meals. They have a cooker, a cooler, all these things. So that's what they contributed. They also did the van. We have a new van, which was very necessary. What we now do is, with our help, we basically fund the food cycles, because that's something that is a continuous thing. Of course, a kitchen is sunk cost, it runs, and we can use it all the time. A fan runs, but now what really matters is that we have money means for food and for petrol, and to keep the NGO running. Basically, that's what we're doing.
Right. So that Tammy and I and our friends, we're soliciting friends and business partners to donate to the charity. Their charity is again Home
for All.
Home for All. So we're trying to provide some dignity and a place for them, to people, these refugees living in these horrible conditions, just a little respite and a place that feels like home. So the money that we generate there, how will that help?
Yeah, it will help tremendously. I've been there seeing, that the quality of the food depends on the donations that come in. So sometimes there's just coleslaw, there's because there's no money or there's less money. But, I want to see, and everybody wants to see those refugees also have a little bit of vitamins, a little bit of, minerals and good, nutrition, rather than carbohydrates the entire day. You cannot handle that, just that. So I think that food is the biggest need. We're currently working on another vehicle. I think that's pretty much taken care of, because one was stolen, unfortunately. So I think that the main operation will be food, and that is a continuous need. So anything that comes in will go there. And I mean, how nice it is with Christmas, to maybe do something extra for them.
Exactly. And I think it can get easy for us to be ignorant to the plight of these people. We live in homes with real shelter over our heads and air conditioning and heating and comfortable beds, and it does change you. I mean, I haven't experienced it to the degree that you have, Frank, but we did get to sit with some of the families when we were there 3 years ago, and it was quite humbling. It was quite humbling to see their circumstances.
Yes.
So yeah.
I'm so grateful for you too, that you guys are sticking out again, your neck by going live with this, because without people like you, this is impossible. I mean, doTERRA itself cannot. I mean, doTERRA is only a company, right? But they don't have the revenue to support this entire cost, right? So we depend on people like you, and many people like you hopefully will follow. I will do the same thing. In fact, I want to copy the action that you will do, because it inspires people to do it different in a way that suits them, right? We can do it in different ways, and I love the way that you guys are thinking to do it with an action or with maybe a little drawing or whatever.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, and the thing I think, Frank, is I think people need to understand it doesn't matter how much you donate. Whether it's $5 or $100, every dollar makes a difference, right?
Absolutely. I mean, a dollar is almost a meal, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, think about that.
Yeah.
So it's yeah. So
Yeah,
if it's a dollar, we're happy. They're happy.
Yeah, exactly. It brings hope. It brings humanity. It brings dignity to people. We sat with a family of 7 people in a very, very small space, practically sleeping on top of each other, and they invited us into their space and fed us.
Yes.
And cooked some scones for us on an open fire outside, or and invited us in. We had a conversation, and they were wonderful people who were forced to leave a home that they loved because of war and persecution and unsafe conditions, and the stories were horrific. So we hope that you will open your hearts. We realize that a lot of you have a cause that you're passionate about. There's a lot of places in the world that need funds, but this one is dear to our heart. I hope you can feel that, and I hope that you'll open your hearts, open your wallets, and just donate a little bit of money that we can, feed the hungry and clothe the naked, and in this time of year, and just I hope that can bring some hope to other people, and that we'll all be better for it as well. So, yeah. Thank you so much for coming on, sharing your experiences. Thank you so much for the work you're doing there. I know you've been there multiple times, and you're a face that people know and love there. And Nicos and Katerina are literally
Angels
angels on earth. I mean,
They are.
you know, I don't know if you guys caught that, but they gave up their restaurant business to serve these people full time. So they gave up a business that they had and loved for something that they thought was better, and we love them for that as well. So
And think about it, doing this for already 3.5 years.
yeah,
Seeing these people coming into your restaurants with ligaments that are crushed by the war, children that are shot, with traumas, and they are facing that day in, day out. So it's not only the food they provide, but it's also taking in all the emotional draining things that come to them, and they're, day by day. There must be a power bigger than themselves that sort of supports them. I don't know how they do it. I have no idea, but I have a deep respect for them, like you guys. So
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. Thank you, Frank, so much. We love you and your family.
Likewise, love you too. Have a wonderful Christmas, and thanks for doing it.
We'll see you. Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.